other nodes like I've shown here. So there's a lot of opportunity to mess around in such a system. One example, if you take some roadside attacker using his laptop, he could simply fake 2 positions, and by faking these 2 positions, they are relatively far apart, so that, for example, given position A here, or this car, if this car wants to send a message to D, then he receives the beacons from this notebook, and his beacons tell him, hey, there's a car here. So there's a lot of progress toward that destination area here by sending the traffic or the data, the packet, to that guy here. So this guy will be selected as next hop for all traffic coming down this road here. And in the opposite way, if you fake a position here, then car C, who receives this beacon from the notebook, will probably select the attacker as next hop for all traffic going in that direction. So with only 2 fake positions, yep, you are actually able to really capture all traffic on the road. And if you then simply, for example, drop the packets, we have done some analysis showing that you can bring down the efficiency of the network down to nearly 0 with a single attacker. And if you if that you want to use these systems for e-safety applications and so on, this is clearly not acceptable. Because then if people start to rely on these systems, they will probably run into problems. This is also why you restrict yourself to warning applications, because if a warning application fails, you get no warning, but there's not a direct accident like when you have automatic driving or something like that. Here we also started to work on solutions for this. Some people suggest there's also work in the area to have to change the GPS or change the positioning system in a way that the car can actually prove that it's at the position where it claims to be. This goes in the direction of securing GPS, but the problem is here you would have to modify the satellite navigation system to support this. It's probably not something that even the automobile industry can enforce. Others suggest to have additional sensors that measure time of arrival, time difference of arrival. So you have onboard sensors that try to find out where are the other cars surrounding you. But this would mean additional hardware or modification to existing hardware. So would probably also be a problem. There's another way to cope with this problem of position faking. You can do something like using simply heuristics. By using a couple of heuristics, we have shown that you can relatively well find out if cars spoof about their position. So one very simple example would be some kind of acceptance range threshold. If this node here emits beacons telling everyone, hey, I'm at this position here, then these 2 nodes would simply find out, okay, if it would be at that position here, it would probably be out of communication range. So they simply disregard these beacons and drop it. And yeah, for these here, they wouldn't receive the beacons anyway because they are out of the actual communication range of that attacker here. And only a small percentage of nodes would actually believe these fake position claims. And by having such a very simple sensor, you can increase the delivery success ratio dramatically. This would be the delivery ratio if you have unsecured systems, and just by applying this very simple check, you get it up like this. And when you apply a couple of more of these sensors, this would already be quite good. Question?
Sorry, the last graph, is it? Sorry, the last graph, is it from a simulation with circular transmission range?
It's with unit disk graph model.
Yeah.
Yes.
So because in reality, circular transmission range does not occur, and so
the problem here is that current simulation tools don't support realistic radio simulations. But currently, one of my students is working in his diploma thesis on some kind of extension to the simulation tools to have some kind of ray tracing, so you can actually model real situations, for example, from cities where you have buildings that block transmissions and so on. But currently, these tools are not available, but we will surely redo these simulations with more realistic models as soon as they are available. Okay, so I'm running out of time. I will speed up a little bit. I already talked about the privacy problems when you emit beacons all the time. So, for example, these here are locations in my hometown, Ulm, where there are gas stations of a single brand. And you can assume that these cooperate, and they are placed on most major roads leaving Ulm. And if they have access points, they can easily track everybody who leaves Ulm. Just one company. So this would be a problem. The easiest way to evade this problem is that you don't use fixed IDs, but you change them regularly, use some kind of pseudonyms, and then you assume that the driver cannot, or that the attacker, the observer cannot link these different observations, these different IDs together. Whereas this is probably true in practice, there might be some problems with correlation of identifiers based on hardware fingerprinting, or some cross-layer issues that you don't change identifiers on all layers simultaneously, or there might be some guesses or some hypotheses about when a car enters the street and another car leaves the street and no other cars are around, it's probably that both are the same car and they just change the identifier. Another problem is that if you change your identities all the time, this leads to some problems with routing efficiency, because nodes disappear, other nodes show up. This might be a problem with the beaconing process. I am skipping that now. We analyzed this and we made a lot of nice graphs, but the essence is that if you change your identities too quickly, your routing performance goes down dramatically. Yeah, and this is the project I spoke of, Cevecom. You find information about that at cevecom.org. And as I said, the first year is over, so we have a good overview over all the threats and are now starting to really work on a security solution. And there will be quite a lot of components involved here. To prevent Sybil attacks, we look into a PKI for vehicular ad hoc networks, so you can really fix, or you can prevent nodes from creating arbitrary identities. You need some efficient revocation mechanism that works offline. You need cheap operation of this PKI. We need some anonymization layer. There are some ideas from IBM Zurich that could be used here. Especially, we think, or we have been told that pure anonymity wouldn't be accepted probably, but we need some kind of revocation mechanism in case there are accidents. Probably police or whoever would want to know which cars would be involved by simply looking at the beacons or so. Yeah, routing forwarding security, I already spoke a little bit about that, or these consistency checks, for example, on position, but also on other claims. So, for example, if a car claims icy road and other cars around tell you, oh, it's 30 degrees Celsius, there's obviously something wrong. We need in-vehicle protection mechanisms for protecting, for example, software update and so on. So it's a quite long list here. Okay, and this ends my talk, and I hope we have some few minutes for discussing especially the security implications here. So thank you for your attention. So there are some questions here.
Thank you. Is there any transitional model from the actual to the one that you suppose? Because I will feel very scared driving my analog car to a crossing like this one with all cars talking to each other except to mine.
Yeah, actually there's a huge problem because you need a certain dissemination of this technology before it actually makes sense. So all of these warning applications doesn't help you if your car is equipped with it, but none of the other cars surrounding you is. There are calculations that you need some kind of about 5% dissemination of this technology to really get a significant benefit from it. And of course, car manufacturers and others think about how can you solve this problem. Some suggest you need regulations, you need laws. If you have laws that new cars have to have something like that built in, you would reach this dissemination rate within a few years just by having all new cars having this built in. Others suggest that you include or that you use these communication technologies, first of all, for other purposes. For example, for music download at your home. This is why you want to have it compatible with wireless LAN, so you drive in your garage and your car automatically connects to your home network and retrieves all the latest podcasts, and in the morning when you drive to work you can hear them. And once you have the hardware in the car, the rest is a matter of a software update. And you can do the software update as soon as you have this 5% or whatever. That would be another scenario for that. Okay, so we have 5 minutes left, so we'll do questions until the time is up.
Did you make any throughput calculations when you were using multi-hop routing?
There have been. I don't have the slides with me. I haven't done that myself, but this has been done by other researchers addressing especially the routing. As I said, I focus more or less on security. The bandwidth you will get is not too big, so you shouldn't be blinded by these 45 megabits. When you have multi-hop, you have this forwarding, you have this channel allocation problem. I don't have the figures in mind, but I look at my colleagues. Do they have? Tim, do you remember any actual figures? Sorry? 2 megabit. Based on 802.11a or b? A, okay, so you get a sustained throughput of 2 megabits, something like that. So it's not too much.
And latency?
Latency depends on how much traffic is there. But one of the problems is that you want to have the latency down to something like 100, 200 milliseconds, because you need, especially for the warnings, you need quick reactions. This is what they are currently trying to solve with this control channel in 802.11p. But I assume that as long as they stick with this DFW mechanism from 802.11, it could be a problem to give any timing guarantees here. So we'll probably have latencies in the area of second or something like that, depending on number of hops, of course, but rather long latencies.
Okay, thanks.
Do you know some company or country who are already deploying VANET?
In the US, there are field trials. In the US, they are preparing a field trial on the West Coast where they want to have a couple of thousand cars, I think, included. Similar is underway in Japan. In Europe, there has been restricted field trials with, I think, some dozens of cars, but essentially that's it. In the US, they are pretty quick. They, for example, they also allocated I think $800 million budget for equipping every traffic light or most traffic light intersections with an access point. And in the US, they don't, as a contrast to Europe, they don't believe so much in car-to-car communication, but they want to realize most applications with car-to-infrastructure. So the intersections are equipped with an access point, and the cars communicate only